Today we'll be going over all the professional R6 Yapper settings, but also talking about the best settings for you. What this means is we'll be breaking down each setting so you know exactly what's going on, but we'll also be going over some secret tricks to switch up along the way to give you that competitive advantage. We're gonna go through each setting. They'll all be time marks, timestamps, so you can jump ahead if you want. You can go to whatever benefits you, but if you stay along the course of the entire video, there's gonna be little tricks for each and every section that we have. Starting off with the general section. One of the biggest things here is your display performance metrics. This you can turn on to see what kind of FPS you're getting, how good of like your system is running essentially, and it's something that's gonna be very useful to check later on when you're messing with your graphics and you're messing with things. So while you're changing your settings and trying around different things, I would recommend turning this on if you are on PC. On console, I actually don't even know if this is an option, but there is one console option here that you'll want to change, which we'll get to in a moment. I'm gonna leave this off for now and then move on. This is where you can change your stun visual effects. So you can go from white glare to dark glare. So if you don't want to be literally flashbanged in real life, I kind of like it though, so I use the white glare personally. You can cycle inside the camera groups, which will let you stay within a camera group instead of going to the next one. I don't personally like this, so I just leave it off. I like being able to just spam through them, which is not super important. Diffuser pickup, whether you want it to be automatic or if you want to actually click a button to pick it up, I like just walking over it or picking it up. But, you know, I find them both useful, so I have this on both. The throw trajectory is how you turn off that line that shows up when you like throw a grenade or a flashbang or whatever. And then you have your drone after prep. This is a big one. I recommend turning it to manual. That way, if you want to stay on a drone, let's say you have a cut cam and someone runs across the room, but because it automatically took you off the cam, you have to go back on it and you actually missed that. Very useful, especially the higher up in rank you go, but not super important. If you want to leave that on automatic, you can. Match replay, if you have this off, your game won't save match replays, so it actually will take up less storage, but if you ever want to go back and look at something cool, obviously keep your match replay on. Next up is the text chat channel, and I do have a very strong opinion on this because you should not be in the chat. I know this is a PC only setting. Some people have this on all chat. They get people in their ear yapping, they're reading the text, they're getting distracted. They're more battling in the text chat than they are in the actual game. So turn your text chat just to team chat so you can see your team's calls if they're calling out still. There's no point having this on unless you want to be the guy that's yapping and trying to get in their heads. If that's the way you play, well, you're probably not working on your game too much. I'd recommend just turning it off so that way you can actually get better at the actual game, not the one that is the psychological game that you're playing, you freaking weirdo. If you're on console, this is the general setting for you. It's not in here because I'm on PC, but this is where you would turn on your crossplay matchmaking to PC as well as console only. So you can go either PC and console, so you could matchmake with PC players as well, or you can go to console only, so you can play with either Xbox or PlayStation players, or you can go just to your specific console if you turn it off completely, so you can play with just Xbox players. So that's a very big setting for console, especially in the new season, because that's how you'll be able to play with the PC players. Next, you have your crossplay communication. So if you turn this off, you just won't be able to talk to people on the other systems. I would just leave it on. Why not? I mean, it's good to talk to your team. Moving on to the HUD. HUD settings, I leave literally all completely the same. They're all very useful pieces of information. The only thing I turn off is the gameplay warnings. This is if you scan someone, there's nobody spotted, and it would just be like, there's no operators. It's just feeding you tips and information. If you're a newer player, this is gonna be useful, but if you've played the game a long time, or just even for a little bit, you kind of know what is going on already, and you do not need these random ass pop-ups that are just literally the most annoying thing in the game. So I turn that off. Everything else though I think is very useful, and I wouldn't really change. Some people turn their teammate outlines off. Don't do that. That's how you team kill by accident. Leave this stuff on. It's there for a reason. It's important and it's useful. These are some of the most useful things in the game, like having teammate outlines, having a timer, knowing where the diffuser is. All of this stuff is very important unless you're trying to take a thumbnail screenshot. If that's the case, go to cinematic, scroll down, turn the match header off, boom, you have absolutely nothing on, and you're good to go to take a little thumbnail screenshot. So useful information if you're a content creator, I guess. Next up, we have our audio settings. Hi-fi, night mode, TV mode. This is something that people are always battling against. Do you use night mode? Do you use hi-fi? I personally use hi-fi. If you want the actual like sound engineering on it, go to Reddit, man. Like if you want to get super in depth on this, you can. In general though, night mode, you can hear like those lower bassier sounds, I believe, from further away. So like footsteps, so you'll hear footsteps better, but I believe hi-fi, you can hear stuff around you better. So the close sounds, you can get more directional with it, which is why I use hi-fi. I just personally like it better. Try them both out, honestly. Just try them yourself and see what you like. Peak performance comes down to what you like and what you prefer to make you play better and what your experience with it is, because we are all different, guys, and our systems are different and things are different. So use your brain when going through your settings. I turn my menu music off. Why would I want to listen to this all the time? The next important one is the voice over presets. This is where you can turn off like the operator yelling, reload, stuff like that. You know, all the yapping. You can turn off the yapping. You can put it on like team focused or minimal. It says all right here what you can do. I would just leave it on maximum. The more information, the better. It's a game based off of information. If you can get the information that someone is reloading because they're yelling it, it's going to be useful. Then you have like your HQ guy, your announcer voice. Leave it on. Again, if he says 1 versus 2, it's all up to you. You know it's a 1 versus 2 without even having to look at that pop-up. Say you're in the middle of something. It's useful information. Again, useful information. Stereo, very, very important to have on stereo. That's what gives you surround sound essentially, so you can hear like what's going on around. If you have on mono, all your sounds are coming into both ears, so you're not getting the directional element of it. But if you have like one ear that doesn't work, maybe mono is better, you know? Mute on focus is also an important setting. This is what I leave off because when I tab out of the game and I go do something else while I'm queuing for a match or something, I'll hear that the match has started and I'll get back without being AFK and I'll be useful to my team. So I leave this off so I can hear the game when I'm tabbed out. This is where you control your microphone and your headset, okay? Your input device is your microphone. Make sure this is not on your webcam mic. Some people have this on their webcam and they sound horrible. Use your actual mic. Make sure to set to your actual mic and make sure this is set to your headset, not like your speakers. Don't use your TV speakers, guys. If you're playing on your TV speakers, I don't even know why you're watching this video. You got bigger problems. You got bigger fish to fry out here, okay? Voice chat volume. This is where you're going to control how loud your teammates are, so you can turn them down if they're a little too loud. You know, you want to be able to hear the game, but you also want to be able to hear the calls. If you have your voice chat mode on open and you are on PC, please do everybody a favor and turn it to push to talk. Having it on push to talk, so we're not hearing your like aunt yell at you in the background, or we're not hearing your mom like telling you to go take the trash out, okay? Moving on to a very important category, your display setting. I personally play on an ultra wide monitor. There is only one reason for this, and it's because that's the monitor I use for editing, okay? I would not play on an ultra wide if I had the option not to. I would play on a standard one, but the ultra wide, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. My display settings here are a little messed up because I play on the ultra wide, but I stream in a normal version. What you're seeing here on my screen actually isn't what it looks like for me. I'll actually show you what it looks like. So my monitor is actually like this. So you can see how much more stretched it is. You see the black bars, that's the gap. So my monitor is just that space that you're seeing. So it's way more stretched, but I play in favor of the visual asset. So this isn't actually what I would run. If I actually wanted to play on my ultra wide, I'd probably play in 1910 because then I'm getting more of what you would actually see in the footage. But because I'm trying to adjust for the footage, I play on 1610 because it stretches out again when I go to record. Boom, stretched. Technically, I do play on 1610, but it's not quite the same because I'm on the ultra-wide monitor. So if you're trying to copy my display settings, I would actually recommend you go a little higher with your aspect ratio if you do have the ultra-wide. I would play on 1610 with a 2560 by 1440p monitor, though. That's my ideal aspect ratio there. Field of view, I put it at 83. I don't have a real specific reason for this. I've just always played on 83. Someone said something about 83 is like the best field of view, and I just did it. I copied it, whatever. Mess around. You could go to 90. You could go to... Just don't go to 60. That's the big thing. I think 60 is the default. If you have default settings, absolutely change this. Turn it up to 80 to 90, I would recommend. 83, that's where I'm at. It's perfect for me. I like it. I enjoy it. That's where I'm sticking to. HUD display area. This is like where your scoreboard and your gadgets and stuff show up. And then you have your menu display area. So you can see my menu isn't stretched out right to the edge like the default would be. I actually have this quite low because I like just to have everything condensed in the center of my screen. Brightness, I play on 55. This is also dependent on your monitor brightness. I like things a little bit brighter, so I have it on 55, but I also have my monitor brightness up more than like the standard factory settings, which I'll show you how to change your monitor settings as well, because this is also going to be important. So search up NVIDIA control panel. NVIDIA right here. I do believe you need NVIDIA GPU for this, which most people have if you're on PC, and then you can change your actual brightness of your monitors. This is my main monitor right here, so you can see I have this one at 65, so I do have my brightness up a little bit already. You can't actually see me changing it because it's my actual monitor and not what is being recorded, but this is how you change that, your contrast, your gamma and stuff. So this is just going to make things look different. That's how you change your monitor settings. And then you can also change like your digital vibrance, which makes the game pop more, makes the colors pop more. It looks nice. Definitely worth messing around with if you haven't before. Moving on to one of the most important settings. This is going to give you every performance change in the world. This is your graphic settings. This is where you're going to get performance, visual aesthetics. This is like literally the only settings that really actually matter in this game. if you are trying to make the game good. So what do you run? Well, me personally, I have a 4080. I can run everything on max and look good, and because I make content, that's what I'm gonna do. Let's start off with the texture quality. This is where you're gonna save a lot on your GPU. You can tell when I turn it down, my GPU goes down. This is where you're gonna save a lot of power. If you have, you know, a lower budget PC, turning this to low, it works and you can still make things look good, and I'll show you how. So the first thing is your texture filtering. This does not change anything in terms of performance, really. It's very, very slight, but it can change how your game looks fairly drastically. So I leave this on anisotropic 16x. Nailed it. Then you have your LOD quality, which just changes the distance at which they will lower the quality at range. So like if you're something super far away, they'll just lower the quality instead of having it at max quality. High is pretty good. Like high is good enough, honestly. Like you're probably not gonna even notice a difference in it. Shading quality is whatever. Shadow quality is one that's very, very important. As long as you have it on at least medium. If you put it on low, you won't see player shadows. When in some situations, it's actually very, very important. Like when you're playing in rafters on Clubhouse and they peek the garage door, you can actually see their shadow if they're on one side. So you can know which way they're peeking from just based on their shadow position. So have this on at least medium. If you're really trying to max settings, this is the only one that's really super, super important for gameplay. The next two are not super important. Reflection quality, visual effects quality, they're whatever. They don't change a lot. You could mess around with them if you want. Your ambient occlusion. This is just like kind of soft shadows surfaces to make them look a little better. It's just some Ubisoft thing. You can have it on, you can have it off. Again, I check both these ways and they don't change that much. Lens effect is one of the key factors of your graphic setting. This is one of the most important things in your graphic settings. You can turn bloom and lens flare on. It is on by default, but if you turn it off, things will not blind you as much. So like the sun on Villa, when you come out of ruin spawn, it's just so blinding that you can't even see the master window. So they peek the master window, you can't see it. However, you can see some things better, like vault cams, proximity alarms, because they have this glow to them. I personally play with it off. I think it is just more beneficial than seeing the cameras and stuff, and you can still see them if you're looking for them. So I leave it off. Zoom in, depth of field. I had it on because I think I just messed it up, but typically I would have this off. It's when you ADS and you get that blur around your scope. So turning it off just allows you to see peripherally a lot better. Definitely just keep it off. I mean, you want to be able to see stuff. It just makes sense. Unless you want that immersion, then you can turn it on, I guess. One of the biggest settings in your graphics, though, is your anti-aliasing. I have this on TAA 4 times. So essentially what this does, first to explain it, we'll explain what TAA does in general. And what it does is it saves you some resources by downscaling the image resolution that you have. So right now, if I have it on TAA on 25, you can see that my actual render resolution is 1720 by 720. So it's rendering at a lower resolution. But if I turn this to 100 with TAA on, it's going to render at my monitor's resolution. But it uses a little bit of resources for that. And honestly, if it really doesn't change much, I would just put it on off. But if you want to save resources, turn it on, put it to 25, and then up your sharpness to 60. I play on the 60 TAA sharpness just because I think everything looks more clean, more polished. It looks nicer because it is like just that little bit of sharpness, but then you still have the nice like SSBC plus ambient occlusion to round things off. I don't know. I think this is just one of the best ways to make the game look good because I do still keep it on that 25 render scaling. So I'm still rendering at my actual monitor resolution, but then I have that TAA sharpness as well. Plus with the 4 times TAA anti-aliasing, basically what it's doing is it's rendering the image at that higher resolution before applying the smoothness to it. So it's like 4 times smooth, which is nice. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I was diving into Reddit. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I mean, if you wanted to, you could blast it to 100. I found it didn't look much better. If anything, it looked a little worse just because it's like overcompensating. Plus it's going to use more power from your GPU as well. Moving on to the controls, the professional Rainbow Six player controls coming at you, and I have a very strong opinions on this, so get ready. Raw input, turn it on. It's gonna ignore basically your Windows settings, so it's just gonna go right to your mouse and get that input, which is fantastic. You have your horizontal sense, vertical sense. I play 8.8 on PC. You gotta look up, you gotta look down. If you're playing on controller and console, I run 2060. I don't play a lot of controller. I'm not very good on controller. I'd recommend go watching a console player setting video if you want their controller settings. Like Royal Penguin, cool guy, very good player, and has like 1.7 KD on PC with controller. That's crazy. Okay, next we have our ADS sensitivity. So we have our 8.8 horizontal vertical. I do play on 800 DPI. I always forget to mention that, but I remember this time. So 800 DPI. And then I play on 80, 125, 175, 200. If you are looking at this and you understand what these numbers mean, you probably think I'm insane. You probably think that's the highest sense you've ever seen. Why is my sense so high? Well, it's not, because I use a mouse multiplier ADS unit. What does that mean? Well, if you're on PC, you can change your mouse multiplier. Another secret trick. If you open up your game file by going to Documents, My Games, Rainbow Six Siege, and then finding your account, mine is this one, and then you click on your game settings, you are now in the settings for Rainbow Six Siege. Wow, you did it. And from here, there's a couple settings we can actually change that I can show you. Firstly is your mouse multiplier unit. This is typically set to 0.02. This is the famous Kicks multiplier. Not this one specifically, but this is where people will go to change it to the Kicks multiplier. I use 0.005301 because it's a long story. When the sense changes, this is basically what my old sense was, and that's the multiplier I needed to do it. So that's the multiplier I use to achieve my old sense from when they changed it back when like 0 came out. Now, while you're here, you can also change what region that you're queuing. So you can say I have mine set to East US. I change this all the time to avoid cheaters. So basically, you just want to take whatever data center hint. So wherever you want to go, let's say I want to go to Japan East. I copy this, I plug it in here, and then now I'm on Japan East when I launch up my game again the next time. And then save that, and then launch your game, and you're good to go. I have my mouse scroll wheel disabled because sometimes I'll half scroll and then I'll just switch guns between, like, in the middle of a gunfight if I like spam too hard or grip my mouse too hard, because I got that grip, baby. So I turn that off, and then I use a keybind to switch my weapons. Gadget deployment, turn this to advanced. This is gonna let you place a gadget like a thermite charge down and pull off of it midway through, which is great for countering bandit tricking, or if you are bandit and you want to come off quicker to get the right wall. Very, very, very important to have this on advanced. It's a massive skill difference if you don't. Same thing with droning. You can now throw a drone out and not get on it right away if you have on advanced. This is good for baiting people to make sure you're actually safe before getting on the drone. Another just key thing to be better at the game and have more control over what you're doing. I play on hold lean, toggle aim, hold sprint. This is all preference. It does not make a big difference. And then let's dive into the controls. I use my text chat on U and my team chat on I because sometimes if you accidentally hit T, it'll pop the chat up and you don't want to do that in the middle of a gunfight. So if you fat finger, you're way less likely to do it when the buttons are way over there. You shouldn't be really in the chat anyway, like we talked about earlier. So whatever, it's there. I use my push talk on caps lock. That way I can reach it in the middle of gunfight, whatever I'm doing. Getting that information out is so important to your team. So I have it on a button that is close by, like caps lock. My only other strange settings really are crouch on my mouse, so I can crouch during gunfights, spam crouch like a loser. I don't really do that, but you could do that by putting it on your mouse. I have walk on C because my crouch is on my mouse. And then I also have my grenade on my mouse, so my secondary gadget. So this is way I can lean and throw my C4s at the same time. I can just have more control over like throwing C4s, nades, whatever, like quick peeking while doing it, because I'm not trying to hit G while trying to lean at the same time. And because of that, I put melee on G because my V is used for, I don't know. I've always put melee on G, actually. That's just a weird thing that I do. Weapon swap is on X, and then I have drop diffuser on V. So that's my controls. I mean, those ones are preference. Again, use what helps. Default lean, I would recommend. I've tried lean on my mouse as well, playing in comp. And I'd recommend just using the lean on the keybinds and learning how to do it. I do have a quick lean guide on my YouTube channel that is still relevant if you want to watch it. Let's move on to privacy settings. This is where you can set your nickname. So if you want to be Hung Chef, you can be Hung Chef. You can be Hung Uncle. You can be Hung Grandma. But you actually can't be Hung Uncle because they removed it from a viable name. Dick Move. Because that was my name and I loved it. And now I can't be it. So I'm Hung Chef now. But that's fine. You can appear as you, so that way you don't actually see your own name. I mean, these are whatever. This is, make a fun name, hide your avatar if you want. This is a setting where you can like rename other players. So if you've ever seen like Charlie, Hotel, Echo, if you've seen people with names like this in like content creators games, it's because they have this setting on. They're not actually playing against bots. They're not playing the same people over and over. They just have the names renamed because some streamer names are inappropriate. So they don't want to see that. So they put this on, or they just don't care or want to know who they're playing because You know, there's many reasons for that we won't get into right now. Lastly, we have the accessibility, which has one key thing in here that I want to point out. You can firstly change your stun visual effects in here again, but there's motion blur, which you can turn off, and your screen shake intensity. This is the one that is super important. That way when you're getting impacted, you're not like getting completely dissociated and not knowing what's going on. Or C4, there's no shake, there's no fuse charge, isn't rattling your screen. Turn this off. One of the most important settings in this entire thing is turning this off. Motion blur, I leave it on because there's like these weird red lines when you turn it off for some reason when you're getting shot. It's actually more distracting to have it off, so I would leave that on as well. You can change your team colors. If you want your team to be red, you can do that here, you know, and then play against blue, whatever you want to do. That's, again, irrelevant to a certain degree. I mean, I have seen some pros say that they like their team color to be red and the other team to be blue because they can see like Valcam's better from the blue glow from the Valcam rather than the red glow from the Valcam. I personally don't notice a difference, but there you go. I also play with 100% opacity, and I feel like you don't need to turn this down, and then I use green. So that's all my settings for 2025 season Poxonlox settings. Hope you guys learned something. Let me know in the comments what you prefer and what I said that pissed you off so that I can be better for next time. Thank you for watching. Peace out, boys.